This is Jason Reed Pratt, author of Cry of Justice! Have you ever wanted to strategically move several divisions of Vietnamese troops into potentially dangerous areas where you might be ambushed or otherwise shot at before you can do anything to protect your troops from harm? Me neither! Unfortunately, I'm playing the Army of the Republic of Vietnam for the first time ever, along with the Crisis Grog multiplayer group in Fire in the Lake, designed by Mark Herman and Volker Runke, published by GMT Games. And I ended my last turn of a rather short episode by uncovering some hidden enemies through the normal short-range strategic move for Team South, or counterinsurgent players, known as sweeping. Fortunately, it's hard for activated Viet Cong guerrillas to do much more than march away once they've been flipped over to visible or active status. Ditto for North Vietnamese army guerrillas. But if I had swept up into the sights of North Vietnamese troops, well, that might have been a very different story if NVA Dave even had any divisions on the map. As it is, we're ready to start Turn 7 with the MiGs card now active, and for the new upcoming event, Hamburger Hill. According to the MiGs card player sequence, up top here, the NVA and then the VC, who are the only two eligible players at the moment, will have first and second initiative. NVA Dave takes the MiGs event, shaded of course, giving the NVA a permanent capability, which in this case is actually giving the US a permanent debuff. Hereafter, on any airstrike special mission, including events which grant special missions called airstrike in the text, where the US chooses to effect the trail, the U.S. must send one cube from their available out of play, reducing the United States score. This does not affect airstrikes in other regards against other targets. Historically, MiGs, Russian jets supplied by the Soviet Union and China, didn't only protect the trail, but the card is actually trying to simulate the unexpectedly high loss ratio wreaked by their presence onto Team South, mostly American jets, for a while. And since these jets don't exist on the board, this provides an uncommon but clear force reduction opportunity. Or else, if US Rich avoids the trail, it provides an invisible level of protection for the trail. The MiGs capability, or the shaded flavor anyway, helping Team North, is one of the few permanent powers which can be taken away later, but only if we randomly shuffled top guns into the deck as an event, and only if it was shuffled in before the 6th coup, and then only if one of us Team South players get an opportunity to play that event, which we might not, and then only if we actually choose to take the event, which for various reasons we also might not. So there's a very good chance that NVA Dave will be able to build up and keep full trail powers throughout most of the game, and he's almost there already at trail level 3. VC Larry doesn't think the United States will let him take Hamburger Hill next turn, a highly likely suspicion, so he might as well play the full op with special now, following the NVA's card lead. He chooses a rally op with a subversion special mission. 3 rally targets, costing 1 cash per area, reducing VC cash by 3 down to 12. Target 1, Krang Tree. Larry rallies in 3 specs due to the 2 population plus his 1 base already there. Target 2, Tay Ninh. Larry adds 3 specs here for the same reason. Target 3, Quang Tin. Here for his rally, Larry chooses to flip all his specs in the province back to hidden, where I won't be able to target them with my cubes, and which also prepares him to hit my pieces later. This also protects his base better, since I'll have to root those things out again to get to his base. He can choose up to 2 valid subversion target spaces, which as usual for special missions cost a player nothing. Subversion missions require at least 1 spec in each target space, but while the spec on the mission does have to be hidden, they don't activate. The missions also don't care about support or control. All they need is a spec and potential victims. In Quang Tree, Larry replaces 1 yellow cube back to my available because I finally researched the rule properly this time, thank goodness, with a spec from his available. Notice that this alters our relative numbers in the province so that the Viet Cong have 5 pieces, and so do both of us together on Team South. Consequently, we lose coin control, and my score goes down 2 population to 35. Second subversion target is Quang Tin. Larry chooses to remove 2 of my divisions, which doesn't allow him to substitute in a spec. Control remains unchanged. There is no control. He outnumbers us. For every 2 of my cubes he removes by subversion, whether police or troops, but in this case it was all troops, he can drop my patronage by 1. So since he removed 3 cubes, my patronage goes down 1 point to 14. This also reduces my score by 1 point to 34. Patronage is one of my only 2 ways to score points. This ends the turn. Now, turn 8. The current card, Hamburger Hill. The upcoming card is Draft Dodgers. US and then I, Arvin, have initiative this turn. US Rich chooses a full op and special instead of taking the event for this turn, Hamburger Hill. Rich plays his operation fully first, choosing to train. The United States always trains Vietnamese forces, not American forces, but that includes the US Special Force chips, the Irregulars, which the US directly controls. Those might be led by Green Berets, but they're mostly companies or maybe a regiment or battalion comprised of local mountain folks, whose loyalties, by the way, are to their American friends, not to me in any way. He can train those specs onto the map from his available box for free, but he has to pay, out of the money he otherwise assigned to me for aid, for training my Rangers, Special Forces, or my military or police divisions. Rich trains 6 of my cubes into Pleiku since he has a base there. He can only train my cubes onto the map, or my Rangers for that matter, where he himself has a base, putting 4 yellows and 2 oranges. Those are military and police divisions respectively. 6 extra cubes easily gives us control in Pleiku, and so increases my score by 1 population to 35. Arvin Cash goes down 3 to 50. Rich also trains 2 US specs for free into Quang Tri. The US has a lot of flexibility about bringing those in from available, needing only an area, but not a road or a river, with any US piece. Such training is also immune to control and support considerations. This gives us back coin control, increasing my score by 2 pop to 37. Like me, the US can pacify at the end of a training operation, and like me, he has to pick an area where he is trained and which has coin control. Also like me, he has to pay 3 of my cash for each level of support adjustment, plus another 3 for removing any terror first. Unlike me, he does not need any police and troops to do it. But that's fair, partly because the people generally like the big friendly United States more than their own government, understandably, and partly because in a full competitive game this would be one of the key ways the United States scores points while trying to beat me. This time US Rich chooses Quang Tri as his pacification target, raising it 2 levels from neutral to active support, increasing US score by 2 pop twice to 52 because he's gone up 2 levels of support. Arvin Cash goes down 3 cash times 2 levels of improved support from 50 to 44. Note that I should have gone down 4 cash times 2 levels, paying an extra 2 cash, thanks to my current regime leader Kai down here. You can see it says I have to pay 4 cash, not 3. This will be fixed later at the start of the next coup. US Rich chooses his special mission, Advise. He can do this for free in any 2 spaces, including lines of communication, as long as he has valid pieces there and he didn't train there. In either or both of those spaces, he can sweep in place without moving, or he can assault, but not both sweep and assault, with any valid Arvin cubes, or he can activate one of our underground specs there to raid without moving them, removing any 2 enemy pieces, including enemy hidden specs. His choice, but bases have to go last. And just like in raid, I can't strike against underground bases. Rich activates a green spec in Quang Tri to remove 2 blue specs, and ditto in Pleiku. Since we're playing a full team game, he gladly increases aid by 6 to 59. Woo! In a full competitive game, he might desire and choose not to. Rich's play allows me to play the event if I want. As a reminder, this turn's card is Hamburger Hill. The upcoming card, Draft Dodgers, would not hurt us this early in the game if Team North gets it, which is likely considering who goes first there, and doesn't really help us at all that much right now. The hill would be nice to play. It's a little hard with relatively few troops on the map. Moving them around could imperil other areas. Unfortunately, my only other option is a limited operation, which will have an equally limited effect. So, I'll take the event in our favor. As many people know, Hamburger Hill was the American nickname for a costly battle to take a heavily defended hill in Vietnam, which was shortly afterward abandoned and handed back to the enemy. When news of this arrived stateside, it led to a public backlash and closer scrutiny of the Allied strategies, including by Congress. The hill was actually named Ap Bia Mountain, on the border with Laos, and the elite 101st Airborne Infantry Division assaulted its NVA defenders on May 10th through May 20th in 1969, starting from the Ah Shau Valley. ARVN troops helped during the final assault, and one battalion reached the crest of the hill first, but out of concert with the operational plan, they had to retreat to avoid incoming Allied fire attempting to support the envelopment of the total assault. My target for the event must be a highland province, one of these brown things with mountains. I choose Bin Din, which is just barely on the Laotian border, by the way. Up to 4 US cubes can be teleported there from any other spaces on the map. I'll choose 2 of the new cubes from Kontum next door. Welcome to the Nam, boys. And 2 from Saigon. I can now remove 1 Team North base in that area, even if it's underground. And behold, a VC base, which is why I chose this area. This reduces Viet Cong's score by 1 to 27, since their score is partly determined by how many bases they have on the map. And since our pieces now outnumber the Viet Cong there, this raises ARVN's score by 2 population of coin control to 39. No cash spent. We've had a nice full episode with some pretty important plays on all sides. Team South is rolling up within 12 points of passing both our goalposts, both of those goalposts being 51 points, so we're clearly in the lead. The communist hordes, who have been thinned out or have yet to really start hoarding even, need to get their strategy and luck of the draw together if they're going to stand a chance of even preventing our win. But it's now their turn of doom. Doom, 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 doom. Amen. 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 Amen.